Did anyone add something to this page? Okay, this is more fun to watch. Are we ready? Okay, we're good to go. Hello, everyone. My name is Tianhong Xu. I come from Colorado, Oregon State University campus. Very nice to see everyone. This is my first time, so if you have any tips, you can come share with me later. So we are already doing some collaboration and creative work before the session starts. Presentation. Okay. So today we're going to talking about put on cultural glasses and jump, and the theme is transforming regular assignments into active learning experiences. And one element I want to talk about before we talk about active learning is the elements of learning. We covered some in the brainstorm session on the Padlet. So according to Edgar Dale, learning, in learning, one thing is identify the goal, identify the outcome that you want to teach, you want to cover, and then make sure you align your objective, your outcome with the activity you are actually going to design. So you have a course goal, course outcome, and then you have your individual assignments. So each assignment also has your outcome elements, and make sure they align. And next one, in the assignment that you are designing, make sure you have created a rich experience. A lot of us talked about the experience in our brainstorming session, and I'm going to show you an example.
I'm Stan Gregory. I'm your instructor in eCampus Limnology. And today we're out on Kronmiller Pond, pond on the College Forest at Oregon State University.
Hi everyone, welcome to BA 550.
Welcome to ANS 121.
Hola, me llamo Anuncia Escala y soy de Barcelona.
Today we have Dr. Ben Zhu.
Hello, I'm Phil Pepe. Welcome to Bio 345, Introduction to Evolution, which bridges the study of evolutionary science and society.
Song.
שלום, איזו תמונה מתאימה למילים הבאות?
And so in our sample space, we'll have that it could land on red, it could land on blue, or it could land on yellow.
With that said, I greatly look forward to your participation.
So that's the type of online courses we designed at OSU eCampus, but it's not done by one person. We are actually having a team of 16, 17 people together. We have 6 instructional designers, 6 multimedia developers, one person in charge of the lectures, and some copyright experts, project manager, and a director all working together as a team. And then the next thing is we want to make sure in the assignment we built in experience activity that will access prior knowledge or make a meaningful association for the students in that process, in that experience there while they're doing the assignment. And the hope is when they're done with the assignment, the students are transformed from a novice to an expert in whatever content they're learning. So that's some according to Dale, and I personally like his definition very much. Okay, so for today, when we are talking about active design, there's a few things we can actually do to make that happen. And these include, the first one is adding autonomy or adding agency to the assignment that you are building. And the next one is adding feedback, peer review, and the reflections into the assignment. And the third one is build a collaboration into the assignment. The last but not least, and actually I will usually consider that first, it's the cultural awareness. You all see that I'm wearing a pair of glasses. So if I take it down, you all become very vague to me, except her red dress. Now let me put this on. Now everyone looks clear to me, to the very last row. So it's very important that we see things clearly. We see our objects clearly. And when we design the activity, that's the same. So we need to see who we are teaching, what content we are teaching. So for example, in writing class, we're teaching student interview skills, and it's an online course. We felt it's very hard. How do we assess interview skills in an online class? So we outsourced and we find the career service division. Actually, they have a tool called Interview Stream that allows students to practice interview skills. The student can record themselves, or somebody will show up and ask them questions, and they have to answer these questions within the time limit. Maybe it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, and then they record that, and somebody will provide feedback. So that's the type of tools that we can outsource to make sure we are giving our students the experience they need. But without looking into that, then we will just say, okay, go practice, go home and practice. But that's probably not going to happen. Okay, and another example in Business Now, in BA 101, we have an elaborate, very content-driven course built up. Then I asked the instructor, what's your course title? And he told me, it's Business Now. We talked about a lot about business, but are we actually also stressing the now part? How can we emphasize the now part in our assignments? So we come up with an assignment called Newsroom. So throughout the semester, we created a discussion board that the student can go in, and they are responsible. They will be graded heavily on that. Each student is responsible to post one news report. They will be the news reporter for the week, and then they will, throughout the semester, they will comment a few times on all the other news reported by other students. In that way, they are bringing the now piece of business into this classroom, and they are learning it all together. And the last example, it's an IE course, and actually, it's for the whole master degree program. We found out many of the students who take this class, they've been working so long that they forgot how to do citations, how to do peer reviews. So we went to the writing professors and asked them to provide some lectures, some modules that they can practice on, and we found some online interactive site so that the student can practice how to do citation. And so when they submit their report, they actually know how to do the citation. So that become an added module if the student need it. So that's the type of thing when we consider who the teacher, when we talk about culture, it doesn't necessarily mean are you Asian, are you Native American, African. It can be a lot of things. Are you a military student? Or are you a mom? Or are you sick in the hospital? How do I make the course available, accessible to even someone as special as you, as unique as you? So that's the type of cultural awareness I'm talking about. When we are thinking, designing the assignments, make sure you take that into consideration. You design the activity for your students. If something doesn't work, then you will you'll have an alternative plan for that special student who has special needs. So adding agency or autonomy, I've actually worked at 3 different places, so I have accumulated some experience. This is something I came across when a BYU professor led a class of master students in instructional design, and one of their assignment is to develop content on project management for instructional designers, and later that became a book. It's a book produced by a class. And of course, it didn't get complete during the class time. They extended beyond the term, and they meet and finally make the book possible. And another one, Massively Open, it was done by one of my coworker, John Donaldson. He just left to pursue a PhD program. But he taught an online course, and he asked his students to collaboratively write a book, Massively Open, and it got published. So think about that. Usually, it might not be very possible if you are teaching in a term, quarter system. It's more likely if you're in the fall term, spring term, and summer term. Like 16-week or 14-week is more likely to have such big project done. But you can also have 2 courses developed at the same time. And a web page that I developed because of our homework assignment when I was at Purdue, so it became my personal portfolio, something useful, and it got carries on. And something like a whole website designed all by students, and many other things. It all involves you give student choices, they work together, and they produce something useful and lifelong existing. And adding peer review and reflection, it's very important, but sadly, I see very few instructors use it, just because it might be an added step. But in real life, think how many times you think about something you just did, you just learned, and you realize how much you have learned. So reflection, peer review, or feedback, that's very, very important. I just highly recommend, promote that everyone will start to think about adding these elements to the assignment you are designing. And the next one is collaboration. I don't have to talk about it because we've already doing it at the beginning of the session with the Padlet. And there's many different ways you can do. And all these steps, elements, we can add not just to a writing course, not just to a Master of Engineering course. It can be to any type of online course or any type of classroom face-to-face courses that you want to do. Okay, and the results of curriculum courses designed in that way, we see happier students with higher graduation rates. Okay, now I'm asking you to go to this space. I will leave this open. So this time, I want you to work in groups, maybe like each row. 4 people or 3 people as a group will be best, or 5 can work too. So you work together and think about how you can redesign a quiz, an assignment, and a discussion by adding autonomy, adding collaboration, adding peer review, and adding cultural awareness to the assignment. So I'm going to divide the group, the whole room into group areas. Why don't these people in this area work on redesigning a quiz? What elements can you add to a regular quiz? Multiple choice and one-time submit and done. But how can you make that more active? How can you add cultural awareness? How can you add autonomy? How can you add collaboration into it? And for the online audience, you can also go to this web link and do the collaboration there. Okay? So the first week will be working on quiz, making quiz more active. And people in these two lines and in these two rows will work on how to make the assignment just like a paper. You have a paper assignment. Ask the student to do a report. How can you redesign this assignment to make it more active? And we'll come back and see what, as a group, we come up with. Okay, these two rows, so why don't you work on how to make a discussion more active? What can you do to change your discussion? You have a topic, you ask the student to respond something, that's your regular discussion. How can you change that? By adding the elements I just talked about, okay? So people in these three rows are working on making the discussion more active. Can you work on that? Okay, just think about the elements I talked about. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, can you guys think about making an assignment more active? You have a paper assignment. You ask the student to write a paper, and they submit. That's how we normally assign, right? How can you change, adding the elements I talked about, make it more active? Yes. I talked about adding more choices, adding cultural awareness, adding collaboration, adding feedback. Yeah, think about how you can make that possible. Okay, and for people in these two rows, and you guys think about how you make a quiz more active. Yes. Yeah, you can come over here. We have 5 minutes. Sure, can you remind me? Yeah. Okay. They are working on quiz, and this is assignment. You guys are discussion. Yeah. Okay, let's come back as a whole group and see what we have come up with. Okay, everyone. Would someone from here kind of summarize what your group discussed and come up with? No? Yes?
So we came up with, for a quiz. So in response to the quiz, we thought that you could have different members of a team look at the question or problem from different perspectives. You could even assign people different perspectives to take and then create sort of a debate and give rebuttals to responses. Also have a larger question, and each student might have a portion of that to answer, and then they have to come back together to bring all those responses to one collective.
Anyone else working on quiz? Is your group working on quiz? Discussion? Who else is working on quiz? Your group? Anyone would like to summarize for your group?
Okay, so we said the quiz questions should be based more on application instead of the concept itself. So then that will make the students think. Instead of thinking about memorizing a concept, they'll actually have to apply it. The other one we talked about adaptive learning, that the complexity of the questions increases as per the responses of the student. So, but it can be expensive. There's one that I can remember. Actually, we didn't discuss that, but this actually came out of just a fluke because I lost my USB once, which had a quiz on it. And I had to design the quiz overnight, and I thought this is really difficult because I had so many questions. So I actually asked the students and put them into groups and said, you have half an hour to design 5 questions. So the students actually designed the whole quiz themselves, and I said, your questions are going to be coming from this quiz. But in fact, the students in the groups actually ended up designing much more difficult questions than I would have designed. So, so they actually designed the whole quiz themselves, which also meant that this was their review quiz, that they could actually review 150 questions, and my next quiz was 30 questions out of those 150. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So next one, working on assignment. Anyone volunteer? Okay.
Well, we were just talking about the fact that, coming from schools where we don't have 16 designers, whatever we do has to be sustainable. So, using Articulate Storyline and some of the other authoring tools would definitely add to your assignments and your assessments. However, it's not feasible since a lot of the instructors don't have the licensing for those tools. So taking what we do have and what the student or the faculty members' capabilities are within the assignments and the assessments, creating like debates and things like that to make it more authentic and engaging. But she brought up the fact that she uses VoiceThreads in her class. So those are some free softwares just like what you're using here. But again, whatever you do, making it so that the faculty can actually implement it and support it.
Okay. Any other group doing assignments? Anybody here? Are you guys also doing assignments? Okay, who's sharing?
I want to tell you about an assignment where a nursing instructor who I was working with at our university was teaching a course in healthcare policy, and she had her students interview a legislator. Now, this was a distance course, so everyone was coming from a different area, so that made it real interesting. And she had them collaborate together on creating the interview protocol on the discussion board. So it was done in stages. It wasn't just the students did this in a vacuum. They collaborated on the protocol. And then after they completed the interviews, they shared out again on the discussion board. So it was an extremely collaborative discussion in our assignment. And I think it really hit on just about every single one of the 4 aspects of active learning that you mentioned.
That's wonderful. As a matter of fact, you can continue to use this space. If you're LMS specific, you can say, Blackboard, how do I make quizzes, assignments using these 4 elements, make it more active, or Canvas, or desire to learn. You can post the areas so that people using the similar LMS can collaborate with you and contribute to our common knowledge pool. Okay. One last about discussion. Your group. Anybody? Okay.
Okay. Hi. As far as discussion, we talked a little bit about VoiceThread. I'm sure some of you are familiar with VoiceThread. And about it just taking the typical text-based discussion and humanizing it to where you allow the student to give feedback via audio or a video, and also allowing them possibly to be like content creators, to where you allow them to upload a VoiceThread, probably introducing themselves, and then allowing them to give a response to their other classmates. And so I think that creates a community of learning. They can see each other, they can hear each other, and it just drives you away from just a typical text-based environment.
That's great. We use Canvas. In Canvas, there's a direct media upload, and the student can record, and so they will be able to see and hear. What did your group discuss about?
Well, along the same lines of along the same lines of getting away from the text-based discussion boards, we thought it would be great if there was. Can you hear me? No. Cohorting students so that they have small groups of students that get on a Google Hangout or some free-to-use service, and then discuss a prompt. And during each cohorted group, there's a leader, and that leader changes during the cycle of the term. And they report out and share, and there's certain requirements when you get into that Hangout or wherever you are when you're the leader, giving feedback, peer review.
Thank you. And I have handouts, and with the back page, the second page with resources. If you want to, you can check it out. It should be at the conference website. And I think our time is up, but I just want to remind everybody, please help us by filling out a survey. Okay. So if you can help us fill out the survey, that would be great. And if you have more questions, feel free to send me an email. Okay, thank you.